What's up, everybody? Troy Cartwright here. Welcome back to another episode of 10-Year Town. A couple housekeeping items. We are going to be doing another Q&A episode, so you can submit those questions to 10yeartown.com. Also, I am going on tour, me and my band, and you can buy tickets to those shows at troycartwright.com. Today's guest is Chris Van Belkom, also known as Falcon. Falcon is a partner at Combustion Music, which is a publishing and record label. He says something later on in this episode about how to hustle correctly. And he also calls publishing the Wonkavator to the music industry, which really knocked me out. Without further ado, here he is, Falcon. Well, thanks for being here. You feel good?
Feel good.
Levels good?
Levels good, yeah.
Okay. So the way I normally start this thing off is I just ask you, how long have you been in town?
Okay.
Except I know that you grew up here, so that's kind of a hard question to answer, but
well,
just start at the beginning.
I guess I moved here in 1990. My dad moved here, moved our family here when I was 10. So I'm one of the few. I say there's only a few, but there's a ton now. There's like a lot of, they used to say it was unicorn being from
absolutely
like growing up here, but
yeah.
I know a lot of people now. There's a lot of unicorns in Nashville now, I guess. Like it used to be not that many, but now there's quite a few.
Yeah.
But I grew up here. I grew up in Franklin, just south of town, and grew up in the music scene in Nashville. You grew up in the band scene that, of course, exists like around the hills of Tennessee, like the hills of Franklin. Any music town is going to be that way, probably. Yeah. This has become music town. I listened to everything other than country music in high school, being from here. I think a ton of people did.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anyone in high school that was trying to be Tim McGraw, even though Tim McGraw came out when I was in high school. All my friends were in rock bands. That's still kind of the scene you see around here even today. Like the only homegrown artist sorry if I'm taking this in a different direction.
No.
Just you got me thinking.
No, there's no wrong way.
The only thing I can think of that's out right now that's like, I mean, Dustin Lynch was from Tullahoma, I think, which is so close.
That
like
is very close,
high school football teams used to play each other. But then Ernest is the only one from around here, and he started out hip hop. He was like,
he was a rapper.
Like he came on my radar as a rapper. So I'm probably forgetting somebody. Somebody's going to call me and be like, what the fuck? But there's really not that many. You would think there would be more. But yeah, I went to college in MTSU for music business. After kind of bouncing around in a bunch of different bands, I kind of decided I was going to shift and work in music. I didn't realize I was going to work in country music. I knew I was going to get a job in country music. And Nashville was right here, but then fell in love with country music from there. Honestly, it was Rascal Flatts and Gary Allan were the first two country artists I was aware of things coming up just because of growing here. Vince Gill, one of my best friends in the business, Josh Van Valkenburg, is married to Vince Gill's daughter, Jenny, who Vince got famous whenever I was in middle school, probably.
Okay.
And like, that wasn't rock star to me. Country wasn't rock star. Like country was just country.
Yeah.
And like,
I think that's common. I'm not sure why, but I didn't like country music at all until college.
Until after, because you grew up in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know what it was. It was like, looking back now, I loved it. But there was like a time period there when I couldn't drive yet. My older sister could. So she drove me to school.
Right.
So we listened to what she wanted to listen to. And she was really into country. So that was like Montgomery Gentry. That was like the heyday of like, I love this bar, Toby Keith, and
late 90s, early 2000s.
Just it's good stuff. Rascal Flatts
down the
was
guts
huge.
Country. Yeah. People always want to leave where they came from, I think. And I was no different. I remember noticing that, not giving a shit about country, but then having a big country star in our little presence or in our little kind of community, and then becoming a fan of the music way down the line, like 10 years later. I spent all my young years listening to punk rock, trying to figure out how to get out of Nashville. And then about the time I started my career, I realized that I loved it here and I didn't want to go anywhere else. And it's like the music is the thing that, I ran away from it. And it's the songwriting within it is what found me. I found myself at a publishing company right after school. Combustion is still the same company I'm with now. And
how did that work? Like, did they have like did you like show up at a job fair? Were you just like blindly applying for internships? Like, how do you get started in?
Actually, so did you know Keith and Melton that works for us now? Like he was interning at a company called Cal Ford that I interned at while my last year of college. He told me about Combustion because he told me about the Kings of Leon that had just signed. Like there was a rock band exploding, right? In 2004, there was a rock band exploding in Nashville, which I was in the little rock scene here. So I was like, hell yeah, it's about time something not twang came out of Nashville, you know, and was all excited about that. And coincidentally, the girl I was dating at the time had a friend that was working there and was about to leave. That's my into the music business. I knew there was a job there. I didn't realize it was going to turn into a lifelong kind of career for me. You know, it turned into a whole thing. I had a part-time job offered at Combustion, and the band that I was playing in at the time got an offer to go tour with 30 Seconds to Mars. So I was like, I had my two things that I want. I had identified that I didn't want to be a rock star anymore, but I had a pretty good gig looking at me if I wanted to play bass in this band. But then I had a part-time job at Combustion where I knew my heart was going to be on the other side of the desk, and I took it and I ran, and it really worked out. It gave me a weird advantage being from here. It gave me a weird advantage because I was able to identify my own bullshit like and apply it into how I do my day-to-day job.
Can we back up for a second? So you had a part-time job at Combustion, which was
at the time.
Was it at the time? Was it focused on just publishing?
They had the Kings of Leon and the Ashley Gorley and Drew Ramsey, and Gordy Sampson and Blair Daly, who all of those names carry different amounts of weight now than they did at the time.
Yeah,
Kings of Leon were not widely known as they are today. They were a band that was having some success in the UK. They could play the end here, but then they'd be selling out shows in the UK, and we made a ton of cool sync relationships from that. On the country side of things, on the songwriter side of things, Gordy Sampson and Blair Daly were the ones to kind of, when I moved in, everybody was writing songs and demoing songs, trying to get cuts on Montgomery Gentry, and like Carrie Underwood didn't exist yet. Our first number one was Jesus Take the Wheel, which is a big number one to come out with. Yeah. We didn't even realize at the time because she was the new girl on American Idol that just won American Idol, the country girl. And weren't sure.
And that was very fresh, right? Like
and it wasn't really, you hoped it was going to be huge, but Faith Hill was kind of big at the time, or it kind of was cresting, and Martina was huge. It's like a new female. It was so dude heavy then. There wasn't a lot of extra space for a female. So we weren't even sure how excited to get about that in the beginning. And then it ended up being a career defining single for her and career defining song for Gordy. It put us as a little publishing company on the map. With him, we were able to parlay that into a lot of other things. And Gorley was just, when I came in, Ashley Gorley was the little guy. He was the guy that was standing in the shadow of Blair Daly and Gordy Sampson. And also, it's funny how cool the Kings were to me. In Nashville, I thought they were cool, but they still didn't quite get it. It was still such a country town at the time.
Yeah.
People give us more cred now than ever while they were actually with us, I guess. you know.
Yeah, well, they went on to become
the typical industry is a little slow to take sometimes.
But so you had this opportunity essentially to go into publishing, or to go on tour
to go into
with 30 Seconds to Mars in a band.
And I decided against that. Yeah, I decided to take the desk job.
That seems like a big decision. How did that feel at the time? It
wasn't a big decision for me. Honestly, the band that I was in, Jerry Rowe, the drummer, the session guy, he was in that band too. He was like 17 and I was like 22. And he was the first player of that caliber I'd ever met. That made me kind of want to put it down entirely. You meet the right session guy, it's like,
they make you want to quit.
Whoa, like it's just a whole other. I knew they existed. I mean, Aaron Sterling went to my high school too. Went to Franklin High too. So it's like I knew those existed, but I'd never played in a room with a guy like that. I think I would have been fine there, but I knew I could do this freer. I guess I knew I'd be more successful.
Did you have any sort of thought process of like short term this might not be as fun, but long term I can make a career out of this?
That was kind of that I knew the short term, the other one was going to be way more fun and way more conducive to the way my life was at the time. Quite honestly, though, if I had gone that path, I would have been a statistic. If I were a bass player, I would have been the one to OD. Like I was just in the
It's too wild.
line of life I was in. I just was the one that would have quite innocently walked right there. I know it. I basically did it my own way on the other side. So it's like, I know my tendencies and I know what I do, but it was pretty easy. And I remember saying no and realizing it was a big decision, but it wasn't a hard choice for me to make. It was like, I knew it was big, but I was just so weighted this way. And I wanted the opportunity to come so bad that I was able to, and it was a party in its own right. I knew it was a different kind of party, like in its own right.
Yeah.
And it has been, it's turned into a continuing party. We talk about this all the time. Like if you do this right, it should all feel fun and easy. Like your life, your job, like everything is just fun and easy if you're doing it the way you're supposed to do it, which is different for everyone.
Sure.
You know?
When you started at Combustion, like what kind of responsibility did they give you? Were you just getting coffee, or were you an intern, or were you part-time? What was the title?
I was part-time, but I probably still showed up 40 or 50 hours a week because the title was there was really no title. I was just the dude. The people were doing a bunch of sessions back then. Chris Farron, who owns the company, or I guess my partner now, we're partners now, but he's always been the lead guy. He's been the head gangster the whole time. And he was a songwriter, producer, an artist at one point. He was kind of everything. It's a unique little company. It's a publishing company started by a producer, songwriter, artist but more producer, but also now he's like a real estate guy. Like he's one of those dudes that can just do.
He's an entrepreneur.
A true entrepreneur and a successful one that is willing to take chances. So like at the time early on, I was just kind of basically a gopher, answer the phones, whatever job needs to be done. The job changes every day. Some days we were making records. Some days we were doing jingles. Some days we were pitching songs. It was always changing. Wow. Sometimes it was physical CDs at the time. MP3s really helped everything. Like
really become
less clunky. It's
less more physically fluid. Moving stuff around.
There's as many problems in the digital age as there were in the physical age. It's just easier, faster, at all of the above. The ease and cheapness, like the inexpensiveness of being able to make songs, turn them around quickly to the places where they need to go. Yeah. It's a completely different game than it was before, but in a way better way. Everybody that's complaining about it just kind of needs to alter. It's not changing it. If even more so, it's like the breakfast that we have. It's like, it's an entirely new game now.
It's
and
just
we're figuring it out as it's going along, you know? And we just got to get up once a month and like bro down and make sure we're pointed towards the Northern Star. Cause like you get your head down, you know, we all get our heads down in our own way. Yeah.
Tell me about, I know like you guys had Ashley Gorley before he was Ashley Gorley.
That's
like probably the most successful writer in recent Nashville history, if not ever.
I was running around at the time in the early days, gophering for everyone. And the lead guys were not like, Gorley was the guy that was a little bit, he was getting a lot of activity, but not singles. And like in the pub world, especially during that game, singles were the name of the game. That's how you make the majority of your money. That's how your popularity and fame grows, really. I mean, that's just how it happens. And he was, for one reason or another, took a minute to get going. And
how long had he been signed at?
Probably about
Combustion?
4 years. Like, well, he was signed originally to it started in 2001. He and the Kings were the first deal. In 2004, I started. It was 2007 when he had his first hit, Carrie Underwood. Don't Forget to Remember Me. It was the first single that he had. Having him in the shadow of a couple of bigger guys and the opportunities that ended up coming to him through some of the other companies that had producers attached to him, that slowness at that point was what gave me and him, I think, both the opportunity to figure out how to hustle correctly in the new world paradigm of the music biz. Yeah, it's like it. And once we figured it out, it really opened up and continued.
Because you were kind of one of the first people to spearhead the like I'm going to put this writer with the artist, right? Which up to that point was not as common for.
Well, most co-writes were two ways. Most co-writes were a couple of songwriters too. There was never an artist in the room. It was two writers. The artist was secondary. It was the job of not second. The artist was just the vehicle.
I see.
And there were all these people in between that had all this fraternity in Nashville on how to get good songs had been created that I stumbled into, learned the frat rules and said, fuck this. Grabbed Gorley and we had 47 number ones together. He's had over 60 now. I don't know where he's at.
Wow.
But in the beginning, like I said, we were trying to pitch songs, getting them, they would land places from time to time, but having a random name on a song the frat rules at the time that the music business kind of ran under, the name carried all the weight. And
so the name, like, it had to have a big writer on it to get cut, basically.
People, I accuse a lot of the industry even today of not using their ears, and it was even more so back then. We listen 100% harder as collectively than anybody did 20 years ago, no doubt. But it's gotten dramatically better. But I still got my issues. Like there's decisions, there's single decisions that happen all the time that are purely mathematical, have nothing to do with the way the song sounds at all, which is a fucking disgrace. But it is what it is. It's the time-honored tradition of the music business. So we're just passionately fighting against it and getting ahead one dinger at a time. And
great songs win in the end.
That's the point. Anyway. That's the point. We're a publishing company first and foremost. Our company has developed into all these things over the years because of the mentality of the head dude. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it's all the core of it is the song. That's what we feel the strongest about what we do as a team together, is getting the songs and the records correct, the way we see them, the way we collectively see them as a small group. And it impacts the writer room to the point where it started impacting who we signed in general. Because with Ashley in the early days, with Seagull was the company that we had a formal agreement between the two of us, but Ashley was a secret sauce to them. Like with a lot of Frank Rogers was doing a ton of records out of that house, and Ashley's writing was a little bit ahead of the curve, and they knew it, and they grabbed onto it, and they utilized it within their whole artist roster that came through. It's like they seem to need him as much as we needed them, and in the same way now as we try to exist, we try to do the same. Like we're not. In order to make the best art, you have to use the best ingredients, and it doesn't really matter where they're shipped in from. And we try to keep our shelves stocked. We have a limited roster. I keep it small on purpose because we have a certain amount of ingredients, and we don't want to outshine what we've got. At the same time, if we're out of eggs, we need to go to the neighbor and get some eggs. If we're out of paprika, I'm calling you. It's like, it's like. Again, we listen. We listen hard. We notice that the industry at large doesn't tend to. So that's where we fucking begin, like hard listening
with
first.
The songs.
Plus, that's the fun part to begin with. And when I was making that decision, like deciding whether to take this job or be in the band, it's like, it should be more fun. It's like if I pick the one that's more fun, I'm gonna make it more fun and enjoy the music. At a certain point, the way to make money in the music industry got down to like a thin little river of cash that everybody was fighting over. Which was
at that point just radio,
single
right?
money, just radio money. So the name of the game is trying to get songs on the radio, which I happen to have the best writer of recent history, and we went right at that, unapologetically right at the center of radio. And as a game, that was so fun. When Ashley really got rolling, all the shit that was bothering us in the beginning all of a sudden wasn't a problem. All these things that were hurdles were all of a sudden our advantage because there was nothing else you could do. There was only one little
that was the only part
money
that
stream.
Was
And then honestly, it was during that period where we were getting tons of activity. I was having to deal with gatekeepers for every individual artist that were not cooking by taste. Quite frankly, it's like, and we would never say anything about it. It was always fine because the components that were brought in were systematic. But they were fine. It's like, this'll do. It's like, we could do better, but this'll do. If everybody's happy, this'll do. But that is so unsatisfying. And a lot of the art that was coming out of it, even when it was perfect and would ring the bell and make money, I would still be left feeling just wanting more. Like music isn't really perfect. And I feel like it reached perfection during that time when everybody was competing for that shallow little area. Gorley was throwing dingers right at the center of the target the whole time.
Yeah.
And I swear I heard the perfect one. I'm not going to say what it is, but it's like the perfect song. It's hanging up on my wall right now. And I'm like, it's perfect. And I wish I cared about it more than I do. It's like, it's
what
perfect.
do you mean?
He just hit the pinnacle. He just
like
wrote,
it's perfect, like as a song, it's perfect, or it's the perfect song for radio, but it doesn't make you feel anything?
Both. It's written perfect artist, perfect producer, perfect everything.
Wow.
And it's too perfect. It's like,
it's too perfect.
Yeah, kind of. It's like,
it doesn't hit. Does it not hit you right here?
But it does. It hits me. The perfection hits me. The ace hits me. Like, who doesn't like to see an ace? But it's the perfect hit.
But it's perfect.
It's perfect. Every piece of it is perfect, which is incredible. It's great, right? It's like, it's what you strive to do. But
do you feel like music shouldn't be?
Maybe
messier?
Maybe if there's one fight that me and Chris have, it's probably that kind of thing. He likes things perfect, and I'm an outside the lines kind of guy. I'm the guy that'll get it perfect and then scribble outside just to fuck it up and just to make everybody mad. But I think that's like,
I have that argument a lot.
Spicy. I like to keep it spicy.
When I'm making records and I'm the artist, producer wants it. It's like it's perfect, and I'm like, yeah, it's too it needs that's what I love. I love Jay Joyce because he has that. I call it like fuck it up.
Get it real.
He's just got this thing that he does that makes it imperfect, which I like.
Keep them guessing, dude. It's fun. This should be fun.
Yeah, it should be fun.
If you find out the end of the movie, what's the point in watching the movie? You know, like this shit's fun.
Yeah, I try to keep it loose. I find that I make the best things that I make when I'm not doing this, you know. You just have to let it ride a little bit. But
you don't realize your hands are clenched until you fucking notice they're white, and then you're like, oh. It's like whenever I sit down to meditate, I won't realize I do this body scan that I learned one time, and it's like I don't realize how tense I'm holding my ears and my eyes and all my body until I like try to relax. I'm like, oh God, I'm like, I'm holding myself like
you're wound up
like Beavis right now, you know. But
so you go on this incredible run at Combustion with Gorley, and then like now the game of the music industry has expanded to, it used to be we were fighting over this little sliver, which was radio, and now we've got a cornucopia of gifts coming down. It has widened a bit
deeply. And about the time I was getting sick of everyone's gatekeepers, getting sick of everybody's agenda trying to make its way into the writer room, we started developing artists, right? Like Jameson Rogers was the first artist that we had kind of taken this approach with that popped off. But there were a couple before him. I mean, there was Everett that also they're signed over to BMG, and Russell Dickerson was the first one we tried to sign intentionally to try to do this. We were a little early probably on that one, but we started developing our own shit. We thought we thought we could make the records better than everybody else.
You made a good soup?
Think we make good soup, dude. We make good chili. It's winning all the awards around here. And no doubt, it's like we just kept seeing everything overthought. We got to see, in working with so many different artists, we got to see the agenda attack an artist in every different way. So I feel like in the jujitsu role that is the music business that's always kind of rolling, like we figured out how to fight, and we figured out what most people were overthinking and started making records the way we see them fit. And not quite honestly, as we saw a need to get everybody on the road. We saw a deep disconnect between touring and the radio. Deep one still exists today. We're trying to zip it up like crazy, but it's still separate. But we realized we could focus a lot of money and time into making these records a little more personal to the artist. Keep the music right instead of having to alter. I kept watching and play Party 2, changing the art to match what the radio team is gonna accept and get excited about, which is like just each time was a mistake, you know.
I think it's something that doesn't get talked about very often because it's a bit hard to articulate it, but it happened to me personally as an artist, and I've seen it with other artists, which is kind of get something going and then it gets signed to a big label, and it's nobody's fault, but they just get so many cooks in the kitchen,
right,
that the music, like I know as an artist, like my head was spinning. I got so confused about what I was supposed to do because I was just following it just defaults to the middle. That's where it goes.
Yep.
And it's because you wrote this song with this writer.
Yep.
And so it sounds the most like a hit. So that's what we're going to put.
It's a talking point for PR. It's a talking point for like, we can tell the radio guys about this. It's all these bullshit reasons that take away from what the song actually sounds like to begin with, which all the reasons are there for reasons. I know everybody's got firsthand proof of why you should do it, but that's just why we shouldn't do it. Like when you see the proof of this is what you should do, fuck it up. Like exactly what. It's kind of that Jay mentality. It's not wrong. It's like, it can be wrong. It can be anarchistic if you let it go too. Is that even a word? If you let it go too far.
I don't know. I feel like the game, the only way that I know how to play the game is to look at the way that it is and go, well, I don't have the resources to compete with the people that are doing it the way that it is. You know, if I'm Universal or whatever, like I can play it straight down the middle and get that song to radio and make it a hit. I presume. I don't actually know. But yeah, I don't have that option as an artist, as a songwriter. Like I've got to find like a different door.
Right.
They're not going to let me in the front.
Right.
So I got to go find a window to crawl in.
Right.
Maybe I got to like find a storage closet to hide in till the business closes and then pop out or something.
Right.
But that's the only way that I've ever gotten anywhere in my career. And I think that's why you and I have probably had so many animated conversations over the years, because that is sort of the mentality that you have that I think Combustion has.
Yeah.
It appears to me that way.
we're a gang, dude. We're a family for sure. Everybody. I think the thing that makes our company special to me is that we all do kind of generally think the same. We're all holding each other accountable on all these things because the agenda has money attached to it, and everybody likes money. Like,
they do.
So we all got to keep each other. We hold each other very musically accountable.
Yeah,
we do it very intentionally and not aggressively, but it's like you got to be careful. You got to be careful with that shit.
So, part of the reason that I am doing this podcast is to make something that somebody just starting out, you know, the 22-year-old kid that is just getting out of college and they want to move to Nashville and maybe they want to be a publisher, maybe they want to be a writer. My question to you is, as a publisher, how does a new writer or a new artist get on your radar?
Man, there's a bunch of ways, but for the new artists coming out, everybody needs to tour. The same thing that we talk about all the time. It's like the young kids coming out. There was an artist that was going to pique my interest right now. It's because they had figured out a way to put, even if it's 50 people somewhere, they had figured out a way to put people somewhere. Because you think that over 300,000 people on TikTok, 300,000 followers, you take the guy that's putting 50 people and 50 butts in the seat. Yeah. I mean, probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Like, depends on the song. Because I'm a publisher too. So the moneymaker in me wants to look at that one that's popping off and see if I like it enough to want to. But again, that's not the business that I'm trying to be in. That's what I'm noticing. A lot of my friends are complaining at the bigger labels and stuff, or the complaint is they're having to make up a story for something that just popped off. They're having to go backwards.
They're chasing songs.
Right.
They're not chasing artists. They're chasing.
It's not even really songs too. It's something that popped off. It's probably not even the song. It's something around. It may be the song itself, but not really in the cases that I'm seeing. The things that are popping off are because of something less the song. The seats will lead to the viral success. The more seats you have, the more viral success that will come along. You don't even have to work it, I don't think. It's a marketing tool. The same way we talk about that a lot. It's like, Like the marketing success could bite you in the ass if you have it at the wrong time in the timeline.
If you're not ready, yeah.
If you're caught unprepared, that's how that's how the people that are getting picked on right now just haven't played that many shows. Like just haven't played that many. So it's all the guys that were working hard. I happen to have a couple of them, like Corey and Kolby both. Jameson is too. All the ones that were working and touring their asses off are having steadier results on the road. I'll just say it like that. That's pretty diplomatic, right?
Yeah, that's very diplomatic.
Yeah.
You know, I dabble in the artist development and you know, trying to find new talent and just like develop it, because as a songwriter, it's like a fun game to me. Mm-hmm. It seems like it's hard for people to realize like not everything just goes viral on TikTok the first time. Like it's not. That's actually not what's going to sustain you. What's going to sustain you is honing in on your craft, on having great songs, on making great art. And hopefully when you make great art, maybe that can go viral. But if you just go viral for something else, it doesn't help you.
Right. Right.
And just because something doesn't go viral doesn't mean it's not good.
Right. So just because something doesn't take because of the marketing campaign you spend around it right away.
Right.
Does not mean it's going to pan out. We keep seeing that happen too. It's like we'll do with every artist that we've worked with so far, we're just trying things. And with every release, especially when we don't have a whole record coming out, when we're going single at a time on something.
Yeah.
Perfect opportunity to try some things with each release. And every time, even now when we're releasing on Peyton Smith right now, we're only 2 in, so I haven't had this yet, but there will be something that we put out, we put a little effort behind, and I don't get the immediate tick that I wanted. I'm going to say, fuck. I promise that that Monday or that Friday morning, everything comes out on Thursday. That Friday morning, I'm going to be like, fuck. But then like 6 months later, I keep watching this happen. Like it happened with Corey. We'd put something out and do a little spend, and then we'd have a result that was good. And then all of a sudden, like 8 months later, there's this resurgence of the same thing. For maybe it's something we did, maybe it's not, but it's like the music will speak later. If the music itself is good, that's the thing too. If the song is good, it will find its way. It's like Jurassic Park, dude. It's like, but seriously, a good, like, sometimes it takes a minute. I'm so used to that being a publisher because songs have sit around, been pitched everywhere, and then finally somebody will cut it. Yeah. And then you'll have Wild as Her is one of those, like,
song was old, right?
Old.
How old?
Everybody heard it. Probably 4 or 5 years old. Maybe not that old, but pretty old. And everybody knew it because we pitched the shit out of it. There's 3 writers on it. So we pitched the shit out of it. I promise the other 2 did equally as much. It's a big song. Those don't go unworked usually if you've got 3 publishers around a song. Yeah. But everybody, as we were pitching him to the labels, that's the thing. Everybody unanimously said, like, we knew this song. We were trying to get so-and-so to cut it. Or, it's like everybody knows a great song. It just takes its moment once in a while. I've had enough of those wins to not freak out every time it doesn't immediately happen. Yeah. I wish to God it did. I wish it never does. It never has and never does.
Is there anything that comes to mind that you did that was special or unique for Wild as Her that because that song, speaking of TikTok virality, went incredibly viral on TikTok. Yeah. But it was really mostly people using the sound, right?
Right.
So was there anything like any secret sauce that you care to share, or was it literally just?
I'll tell you what advantage it had, because it did, like, that's a good example of it's not just viral success. Corey has a great manager, Chris Fox. They also played 115 shows, like almost 120 shows that year. Yeah. That he and Fox hustled, all of them, between every artist friend that either one of them had. We might have pulled a couple of those, but the 2 of them booked the shit out of themselves. So we had that really helping. Like, who's to say what did what? But that foundation was unique and definitely did a lot. And then also just the release with a bunch of, like, the series of releases that we put out, the body of work that existed. There was a first, that From the West record, and then we did a slow release of what ended up being the 21 record. We didn't plan to release that record. We just put a bow on it at the end, like realizing, oh, we've got a record.
Yeah.
And now listening to it, like I listened to it the first time top down when we just decided this is the record. And after listening to it, I was like, this is a good record. Like we didn't intend to necessarily.
You're just putting out singles?
We were just putting out singles, but then they was all very intentional singles, right? Everything very personal to Corey. So we accidentally made an awesome record. It's like the way I like to see that kind of. So there was a body of work out, tons of touring, and a viral hit as the third piece of that. There was a series of marketing spends that we did ramping up to that with a few of the releases before that. It was a really good manager. Really good publisher. I mean, we did our job. Everybody did our job. Everybody did their job great. And when we were getting deal offers on Corey, it's like it was a drastically different situation than we were in pitching anybody else to labels before that. You know what I'm saying? It's like by the time it came time to partner with somebody that had radio, we were able to get a deal that made Corey very happy. You know, like what we're able to do
That's
now.
Great.
What we're able to do independently is powerful. The landscape is drastically changing. Even all of the companies are like the little pub houses now kind of being able to power up if they choose to. And even the label shift that's happening right now, like there's like the musical chairs that's currently happening, like big dramatic moves happening everywhere.
Yeah, like it's just it does feel like it's changing a lot, but it feels like, I don't know. I love that it feels like it's getting less controlled. Yeah. It's getting more Wild West, which
I agree.
I'm a gambling man. So I like when it's chaotic.
Me too.
Because it just seems like there's a lot of opportunity.
But even in the Executive Shuffle, this season, the 2023 season of Executive Shuffle has different conversations than would have been even 5 years ago. It's like, there's no reason, like you said, it's the Wild Wild West. So all of a sudden your shit reshuffles, and you're like, it's the Wild Wild West for the first time ever. Like everybody's on the same playing field. So it's a good thing. When I see those things happen, people are having to refigure out what they're doing for the next year, but it's ultimately a good thing. Like the people that are currently in those positions are powerful. And I know what they're capable of. I'm more excited seeing what those guys are capable of, either on their own or with the next company, than what they were currently doing, which was also huge for us too. It's like that's the cool thing about our little label popping up after being a successful publishing company for a long time. It's like, shit, dude, our little label is getting powerful quickly. And I'm starting to see some of these people come available. It's like when I hired Keithan, he was about to take this one other job, but I feel like I got this, like building a company right now with some of the executives that could be gotten is like,
it's fun.
Like you said, the Wild West. It's like, it's exciting. It's a wild time to be in the music business. It's a good time. Like we can do it ourselves.
You can do a lot yourself.
Yeah. You've been able to accomplish more in the last year than you ever would have been able to under your previous situation. It's just it's just the truth. It's just it's the difference between this. That's saying no ill to anyone. It's just saying mad props to you. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
I saw an opening and ran through it, and
the world has changed.
The world has changed, but it's still a lot of work.
I know.
Here's my last question for you. So we've talked a lot about, strategy and finding writers and stuff. But I don't have a lot of publishers on here. So if you are wanting to become a publisher, if you want to get started in that sphere of the music industry, what would you tell someone to do? How do they do that?
Again, there's so many ways in. Publishing is the ultimate. That's the one thing I did identify in college when I went to MTSU for music business, and before really understanding the business and the way it worked, I could see publishers as the open door to it's the Wonkavator to the music business. If you're unsure with where you want to be, because you're exposed to every piece of the songwriting piece that ends up touching every other piece, kind of, in one way or another, if you want to. The song part of it is so personal, and the people are the writers themselves are a creative breed, and you got to be in the clique, kind of. You got to be able to...
Got to be creative.
Yeah, you got to have a very creative mind, and you got to be able to hang, and that means... If you want to be a publisher, you just got to see as much music as possible and be out as much as possible. Because what's valuable for me in a new hire is somebody that knows everybody. And can't really teach anybody how to do that. You can just let them hustle in your gang for a little while, and you either fit in or you don't. You know, you're either getting given a jacket or you're getting dropped off in the middle of the, I don't know how biker gang initiations work, but I'm imagining if it doesn't go well, you might end up in the back of
oh my gosh,
the bottom of a 6 foot.
I love it. Well,
hole.
Falcon, thank you very much.
Hell yeah, man.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. That's it. That's the pod.
Woo!
Thanks everybody for listening. Keep rating, keep reviewing, keep subscribing. We love you. Talk to you soon. Bye.